9 years ago, I made a decision that actually changed my life, and I know that that sounds super dramatic, but it's true. I have always been a creative person, and I dreamed of having a life where I could focus on making art. I knew that I wanted that for myself, but as an 18-year-old, I was sort of steered in a safer direction. But after 4 years of university studying landscape architecture, I felt like I couldn't ignore what I truly wanted for my life anymore, and that was to be an artist. So I decided to take a chance on myself and really go for it. And I wanted to read you a little entry in my journal that I made shortly after making this decision, and this was when I had just started my art Instagram page, and I was kind of like preparing a description for a post that I was about to make. So I said, I thought I would take this opportunity to introduce myself and my situation. My name is Brooke Cormier. I'm 22 years old and I just graduated university, receiving a Bachelor of Landscape Architecture. And I want nothing more than to be a full-time artist. It's a pretty scary thing going down this road with looming fears of having no security, no benefits, blah, blah, blah. But it's the road I'm meant to be on. Art is my passion, and although I can expect some failures in the future, I was born with a natural talent that I intend to foster. My ideas of natural talent have since evolved. I'll use this Instagram page to document my progress on this journey. I have much to learn and there will be lots of experimenting to do. Please feel free to tell me what you think of my work. I would appreciate the likes and comments. Time to get started. And this is honestly really surreal to read, and it makes me a little bit emotional thinking about it because I just have to be really thankful to my 22-year-old self for actually taking the leap and doing this. Okay, get it together. I can honestly say that I love my job and I feel so, so grateful to be able to do this and to be where I am. I feel very, very lucky to have this kind of like knowing inside of me that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I'm on the right path. And yeah, and I'm just really, really grateful that 22-year-old Brooke really decided to take a leap and do this for real, because I honestly don't know where I would be today if I hadn't done that. And thank the Lord that I did. Ooh. Wow, okay, I wasn't expecting to get so emotional. Here we are. Yeah, I think that it kind of takes some bravery to chase your dreams, and so I'm really happy. That's it. I'm really happy that I did make this decision, and I was brave. But I also think that there is kind of a misconception about chasing your dreams, and that's what I want to address in this video today. But if you don't mind, I am going to work on a commission while I discuss this topic with you. So I'm gonna get painting and we will get right into it. To chasing your dreams, people often say things like, you just have to want it bad enough. But I think that's kind of BS. Yes, having passion and desire is very important, but besides the obvious limiting factors like socioeconomic status, geography, access to resources, and things like that, what I think is the main hurdle of pursuing one's dream is confidence. Believing in yourself. You can want something bad enough, but if you don't believe that you can do it, it's not going to happen. I put out a Google form a couple years ago on Instagram asking people what is the central issue they are facing in terms of pursuing their art careers, and after reading through hundreds of forms, I was surprised to see just how many related to confidence. So what is confidence? I would define it as accepting and trusting yourself. It's the willingness to continue trying to solve each problem that you face. It's believing that you'll discover a way to make goals and ideas work. And listen, I know that all this believe in yourself advice is kind of like beating a dead horse, but I sort of have a different perspective on it that I think you might find helpful. Let's take a moment to imagine a person, an aspiring artist. This individual has no talent, no fancy education, no money, and no support system. But what they do have is confidence. I think that we can both agree that this person would have to be a little bit delusional in thinking that they could actually make a full-time career as an artist, right? Exactly. The word delusional often has a negative connotation, but in this case, I believe it is both a positive and necessary thing. I want you to think of the term positive delusion as a tool to cultivate confidence. So, what is positive delusion? For me, it's simply adopting a positive belief about yourself before that belief actually comes true. It's like the rose-colored glasses you put on before you look at yourself in the mirror. It's assuming the role of your aspired self before you actually become them. And your aspired self obviously has a gorgeous website with all your beautiful artwork on it. So welcome back to the second episode of Brooke Makes Your Art Look Professional. This is a little series that I'm working on with the help of Framer, where I get to spotlight some wonderful artists and make them a professional looking homepage for their artwork. I got so many amazing submissions after I posted about this on Instagram, and today's spotlight artist is Bhargavi Madhur. I just finished one of the biggest oil paintings that I've ever made in my 9-year career as a full-time artist. It's 80 by 120 centimeters, which is really big for me. And if it were a commission, at my current rate, it would have a price tag of around $12,000 to $15,000. But this particular painting is actually not for sale because it is too valuable. And while I explain what I mean by this, I'd like to show you how it's made. So make yourself a cup of tea and let's do some painting together. I'm basically commissioning myself to make this painting for my husband. We moved into a new apartment almost a year ago, and the lack of art on our walls has been getting to me. But the thing about decorating your home with original art is that it can be very expensive. But then I realized, wait a second, I can just paint something myself, because I am a painter. So I took it upon myself to create something special that I could gift to my husband, which would live on a wall of our apartment and hopefully bring us joy for years to come. I wanted this painting to be something that he would really value, and honestly, it didn't take too much thinking. I already knew exactly what I wanted to paint for him. We went on a backcountry canoe trip in Algonquin Park last summer when we were visiting my family in Canada, and it was just the most amazing time. It was a 5-day trip and I documented everything, so if you want to see the inspiration for this painting in great detail, I will tag that video on the screen now. But what made it extra special was that the water lilies were in full bloom at the time. It was so quiet and serene, and paddling together alongside the lilies is a memory I will treasure till my dying day. I naturally took hundreds of lily pictures and eventually landed on one as a reference photo to create this painting. I already had a specific place in mind where we could hang it, and since it was a decent sized wall, I knew I had to go big. For me, it was a bit intimidating choosing a large canvas when I'm usually painting on a quarter of the size, and it was also quite exhausting hauling my supplies across the city. But I was actually really excited for this new change. At my studio, a lot of my painter friends work on big surfaces, and it's hard not to feel inspired when I walk by them every day. I have to admit, it was a bit weird for me to paint something that I knew would hang in my own home. I never hang my own art at home. Sometimes people ask me if I'm ever sad when I sell a painting and know that I'll never see it again, and the answer is always no. Usually by the time I've finished a painting, I've already looked at it for so long that I'm eager to just put it away and move on to the next thing, and I really don't think twice about it. Oftentimes I paint things that are satisfying for me to paint, and I really enjoy the process, but the end result isn't necessarily something that I would want to hang in my own house and look at every day. I don't know if that's like dissing my own art by saying that, but it's true. I guess I have also just felt a little cringy in the past about hanging my own art in my house because it feels a little egotistical to me. Like, I don't want to give my guests the impression that I'm self-promoting in my own personal living space. So I was thinking about that a lot while I was painting. I wanted to create something that my husband would love, that I wouldn't get sick of looking at in 2 weeks, and also something that would make me feel proud instead of embarrassed when we have people over. And because of this thought process, I think I unintentionally put a lot of pressure on myself to make something really great, which kind of backfired on me a bit. I kept thinking of the type of art I like and the painterly style I adore so much in artists' work like Richard Schmidt and Mark Bowage's. I really wanted to replicate that, but the thing is, I don't really know how to paint like that yet. So instead of enjoying the process of creating this big new painting for my sweetheart, I just felt frustrated a lot of the time. I think I've made a discovery. I think that the reason why I'm not getting the painterly look that I'm really looking for is because of this. That's my angled flat brush, and this is the type of brush I tend to always use actually whenever I'm painting realism, because it gets me those super crisp lines. But I don't want super crisp lines for this painting, and for some reason I keep on pulling this brush out and using it. So I think I need to just put it away and not touch it for the rest of the painting, and instead I'm going to use these brushes, which I bought over the weekend. These are not synthetic. I think they're like hog hair or something, and they're big, and they're hopefully going to prevent me from trying to get super detailed with things, so we'll see. I also got this one here, which I've used. This is just like a flat brush, so maybe that will solve my issue. Spoiler, it didn't. I think I ended up pulling out my angled flat one day later and doing some resculpting, and I continued to beat myself up for reverting back to my nitty-gritty ways. I was also kicking myself for not using a projector to map out the composition before I started painting. I don't know why I felt so confident that I could nail it from the start when I literally never paint on this big a canvas. The reference image has a bit of a wonky perspective, and with all the different sized lily pads, it was a real challenge to make it look accurate. I ended up having to repaint so many different parts, and I would have saved myself a lot of time if I had just projected the image onto my canvas from the beginning, just to get all the proportions and perspectives correct. And some of you may think that that would be cheating, and to that I say, who gives a damn? Sometimes it's better to work smarter than harder. Again? But anyway, I have a bit of a ritual when I get to the studio, which I am demonstrating here. After I change into my painting clothes, I immediately make a pot of tea, which I sip on while I paint.